Hi, I'm Jessica.
And I'm Kira.
And we are the Keepers of the Books, your online librarians. And we're here with another weekly reads. A lot of these we mentioned in our December book haul, so you may have been interested in them. We don't have all of our December books because it would be too long, so we'll wrap that up in one other video coming soon.
Nightsiders by Jonathan Mayberry, book 2. So this is Vault of Shadows. Milo Silk has returned. The aliens have still taken over, and their henchman, the Huntsman, is determined to get his revenge on Milo Silk and find what Milo stole from him from his ship. And you may remember, if you read the first one, that he has visions and when he dreams of things that are to come. So he's starting to have visions of again, but the Witch of the World that he has disappeared from his visions, and everything is going wrong, and he worries if maybe there is something more evil out there than even the Huntsman. Can he save the world? So this is a very action-packed alien adventure meets paranormal creatures. There's dragons, werewolves, vampires, and much, much more. Definitely read the first one if you haven't read it, because it definitely picks up right where the first one left off, and it's impossible to put down. I'd recommend this for grades 8 and up because there is quite a bit of violence and gore, but it was one of my favorites this month.
How does this compare to his other books, The Rotten Ruin? Because I loved Rotten Ruin and the zombie books. They were just really fun and engaging, and you wanted to keep turning the pages.
So this one's like that, very fun and engaging. It's actually, I'd say, even more action-packed. Each scene contributes to the plot, and so you have no punch and cookie scenes.
What other books would you pair with this for readers?
I'd pair Bongo Fishing by Thatcher Hurd, or any alien invasion story for adults, ones who liked The Host by Stephanie Meyer. So this is a review book from Simon & Schuster and kissthebook.blogspot.com. So thank you for sending us that.
Boy by Susan Williams Beckhorn. This is about a boy named Kai, and it's a prehistoric book. So it's kind of about cavemen and early hunter-gatherer and traveling communities. Kai is Tabat, or if I'm saying that right, which means that his community says that he is bad luck. He was born with a club foot, and he was left to die outside a wolf's den. There's two kinds of wolves. There's the yellow wolves, which live close and are kind of more friendly with the humans, and there's the other wolves. The wolves are more like a prehistoric version of our current dog. So they're yellow, and they're kind of more friendly, and they take him into their den and they take care of him and keep him alive until his mother comes back and notices that he's there. She hears him crying and she takes him back, but his community still thinks that he should have died. He makes friends with this wolf community, and him and his mom go and thank them for keeping him alive. The wolves, a couple generations go by, and the baby wolves that he grew up with, one of them is now the head of the pack, and she is injured or she doesn't come back. There's one little baby that can't take care of itself. It can't eat meat yet. It still needs milk. So Kai decides that he's going to save it, and he takes it into his home and nurses it. And that's also Tabat. So this is the story of a boy and his dog. Quite literally. But it's really good. I've never read a book about a prehistoric community before, or a prehistoric boy. I really liked this. It was different, and I think a lot of boys would like this book in particular. I also think that people who liked Saving Zasha would like it, even though it's totally different because Saving Zasha is a war story. People who like Gary Paulson would like this book because it's kind of the same kind of feel to the book. This is an interesting one because since there's nothing in it, you could go with a really good reader. You could go down to 3rd grade, but for most it's going to be middle reader, so 4 through 8. But if you have someone who is reading on a little lower level or wants something easy to read, this book could easily go through 12th grade. It's really kind of a coming of age story, and it covers a whole range of ages in the story. This is a review book from Disney Hyperion. Thanks, Disney, for sending us this review book.
Iron Man The Gauntlet. For all you Iron Man fans out there, you will not be disappointed. In this book, Iron Man is set to go to public appearance in his party suit. Along the way, he ends up encountering someone who's trying to steal a very important ship and destroy this environmental summit he's supposed to go to. When he goes to find out what's going on and stop it, he ends up running into an old arch nemesis you might remember known as Mandarin. Now, there's another girl involved who got wrapped up in Mandarin's schemes, and he has has to save them both on a deserted island. Will he succeed? So it's very action-packed, hard to put down, very engaging. I'll admit I'm not always the biggest Iron Man fan because some are better than others.
And Stark rocks.
But I absolutely loved this one. So this is by Eoin Colfer. You may remember him from Artemis Fowl and some of his other popular books. You will not miss his humor in this one because it's hilarious. This is a review book from Marvel, and I would recommend it for grades 4 and up, even all the way up through 12th grade if you're a big Iron Man fan, or 8 and up.
I love what Marvel is doing because they're bringing 3 kind of genres, 3 kind of separate worlds together. They're bringing the books with the big authors like Eoin Colfer and Margaret Stohl. They're doing the comic book novels, and they're bringing the comic book people in. So you have your comic book readers, and they're bringing the people who watch the movies together. And so it's a great place to introduce readers to other kinds of media. So the comic book readers, it's a good way to get them to the novels, and it's a good way to get the people who read the books to the novels. And the people who watch the movie are generally, I mean, not necessarily, but a lot of the ones who are really into the movies seem to be reluctant readers, at least the ones that come into the library. And so if they don't know what books they like to read and they have to read a book, I generally ask them what movies they like, because that's a good way to find novels that they will like. So I really, really like what Marvel's doing with this. And again, Marvel, thank you for the review copy. Everything by Nicola Yoon follows 17-year-old Maddie. Maddie is allergic to the world. She's kind of your bubble child. She lives in a controlled environment. She's allergic to basically everything, food, environment. She goes outside, she could die. She hasn't left her house in pretty much 17 years. Her mom's a doctor, and she takes care of her along with her nurse, who's a really awesome person. Her brother and her father died in a car accident when she was just a baby. Next door, you have a family that moves in, and they're pretty much a dysfunctional family. And you have Ollie, and Ollie is in the bedroom pretty much across from Maddie, of course. That's the way these always happen. And they start IMing back and forth and texting. Soon they get to know each other, and the mom doesn't want her communicating with him, so it's all in secret. And in the book, you have IMs, you have pictures, you have medical charts, you have regular text, and it's really a fast read, and it's great for reluctant readers. Definitely a romance. The movie is coming out, which is why I ended up grabbing this and reading it. Definitely one of the best books I've read this year, especially for a romance, for YA. It's just sweet and it's innocent. There's some language, so normally I would recommend this for grades 9 and up just because of the content, but you are going to have some 7th and 8th graders who want to read it. It's really going to depend on the kid. There is some sexual content in the book. Mostly it's off page, but the beginning, the foreplay, that kind of stuff is in there. There's some language. 7th and 8th grade, it's definitely going to depend on the kid, but 9th grade and up should be safe. Great book. I really liked this one. It's the author's first book, so I'm really looking forward to reading what she has coming soon. Trouble makes a comeback! Yay! It's the sequel to Trouble is a Friend of Mine by Stephanie Tromley. In a previous video, we did review it, so we'll put the link below so you can see the first ones. So Philip Digby is back, and he is still looking for his sister. He's coming back to recruit the help of Zoe Webster and Henry again, and they're going to get in a lot of trouble like the first one. I'll guarantee it for you. So as they're trying to figure out what really happened to his sister, they stumble across a issue with the football team regarding steroid drugs, and so they're solving 2 mysteries just like the first one, and it's very engaging, hard to put down, great characters. My coworker called it Veronica Mars on steroids, basically a teenage sleuth on overdrive. It does have some drug content, as I just referred to, as well as some other things that definitely push it into the grades 9 and up, or 14, 15 on up. An 8th grader could read it if they're a little more mature. I'll Meet You There by Heather Dimitrios. This one has a lot of language in it, but I really liked this book. This is not what I would normally pick to read. Your 2 characters are Skylar and Josh. Skylar is this girl who just really wants to get out of town. She's from a mixed up life. Her mom is just kind of non-thriving, and her dad is dead. She just has to get out. She's graduated from high school, and this is that summer between high school and college. She's been admitted to art school, but it's going to be hard. And then you have Josh. Josh went into the Marines and he stepped on an IED and he's lost his leg. And of course, with that comes many other traumatic things, post-traumatic stress disorder, scars, and just not being able to quite feel like himself again. Skylar and Josh work together at this motel, and the lady who owns the motel just really wants to take care of them. You'll find out why in the book, why she feels so attached to the two of them and why she feels like she needs to help them. This has starred reviews. I would classify it as a new adult book, but definitely not below high school, just to the sheer language content. It adds to the story. And with a book with this much language, it's hard for it to do that. It's just really good. You get so involved in the characters' lives. You just get drawn into this world. You're cheering for them. You're like, no, don't do that yet. No, you gotta move on. Yeah. And you just really, really want them to just get their lives together. So this book does have, again, a lot of language. It has violence. It has drug and alcohol use. It has sexual content. So really, you cannot go below 9th grade or ages 15 and up with this book. It is pretty much a new adult book. I enjoyed every minute of it. It was a review copy from Henry Holt and Kiss the Book, so kissthebook.blogspot.com.
RoseBlood by A.G. Howard. This comes from the same author who brought you Ensnared, Splintered, those ones that are a retelling of Alice in Wonderland. In this book, Rune is the main character, and she loves to sing opera, and she did it ever since she was young with her dad, but after her dad died, she physically gets sick from singing. And so to help her overcome her affliction, her family sends her to RoseBlood Academy, which is a performing arts school. There she meets Edelon, who is another student going to the school, and the two together discover that there's a lot of mystery and secrets to this school. To give you a little hint, the school was named after Phantom of the Opera, burned down, and was rebuilt by an anonymous benefactor. It has a lot of allusions to classics. Particularly Phantom of the Opera is the biggest one. So if you like classic retellings, paranormal romance, mystery, you'll like this book. It's very in-depth, complex plot where you don't exactly know what's going on, and even if you think you do, you don't. And the character, especially Rune, is very believable and realistic for a young adult. But all the characters are very unique and more believable than you would expect from such a complex plot. So I'd recommend this for ages 12 and up or grades 7 and up, even up through adult. I think plenty of adults would like this book. And this was a review book from Amulet Books. It comes out January 10th, so you'll have to wait a few days. I definitely recommend buying it.
So it's a paranormal romance, and the thing is, there's no content in this book that's really going to prevent you from going lower. It's just the plot complexity and the story level. So if you do have a reader who's in like 5th or 6th grade and they're a really good reader, this is a good book to recommend to them. Blood Red Snow White by Marcus Sedgwick. Marcus Sedgwick tends to write books for older readers, YA and new adult. This one can easily, I could even see it getting a Prince Award. It could easily go to adult as well as into that new adult, young adult range. This follows Arthur Ransom. It's really kind of hard to tell this book from fiction because there are so many true pieces of history woven into the tale. And it's historical fiction just because it's a narrative. They do fill in lots of little pieces where you don't have that in history. You don't know his day-to-day life, but you do know that he leaves his family and he ends up in Moscow. It follows Russian history. It starts with the Romanovs and their dethroning, and it goes into the Bolsheviks. So it covers a pretty big span of time. And you have Rasputin and his philandering ways in the book. Those kind of details are why I wouldn't really go too much younger with this book. There's obviously an extramarital affair in here because that is part of the author's life. You have the Bolsheviks. It's got some kind of gross historical things in there just because it's such a bloody time in history. But it's a very, very good book. It's a pretty sophisticated read, but I did have to go check the details. I'm like, did that really happen? Is that, because I know these people are real, and those things really did happen. It's really in there. He started with children's books. It talks about spies and pretty much everything. And so many of even the little details are historically accurate. I really did enjoy reading this. It's not a piece of history that I know a huge amount about, even though the time period where my great-grandma escaped from the Bolsheviks and was there during that time period. So it was really interesting, especially to me because of that. If you're not a historical fiction reader, this is a great one to try out some historical fiction on. I think it's going to win some awards again, just because he does such a good job with it. And I know it's been out in Europe longer than it's been out in the US, because it's a new release here. I'm really, really excited to see what happens with this book and what kind of awards it does get. He doesn't assume that you do know or that you don't know any of the history. He doesn't really go into explaining it. So if you do want to look it up, then you're going to have to do a little research on your own. He has a timeline in the back on how everything goes together and an appendix with some of the telegrams and stuff that he used. And he does tell you where he did some of his research, so that you can look into that, and he does encourage you to do so if you are interested. Definitely a must read. I'll be honest, it's not what I was expecting at all, because I did not read anything on it. I'm thinking Blood Red Snow White. It's the story of Snow White's sister. For those of you who know fairy tales and all of that, that does play in. Arthur Ransom's children's book was about Russian fairy tales, Baba Yaga and all of that kind of stuff. So of course I got sidetracked in fairy tale land because that's popular right now, but it's not. There are some fairy tales and pieces of them woven into the story in the beginning. They do play in, and how they tie in with Trotsky and Rasputin and all of that. But no, it is not Snow White's sister. So this is a review book with Roaring View Press, and thank you.
Batneezer by Obert Skye. This book is the thrilling conclusion to all of Obert Skye's Creature from My Closet series. In this one, he's ending it. He ends it.
No.
I was very sad he ended it. Let's just say that. From the author who brought you Wonkenstein, this brings you a creature who's half Batman and part Ebenezer Scrooge, which is very amusing how the two sides of him fit together and argue with each other. In this book, the main character is going to be visited by not only Batneezer, but 3 other ghosts from books of the past, the books of the future, and the books of the present.
And it's not just Batman, it's Lego Batman.
So the main character's name is Rob Burnside. If that wasn't humorous enough of a name, you can guess this book is absolutely hilarious. As each ghost of the books comes to visit him, they're each a combination of different creatures too. They are trying to get him to realize that there is something going on at his school, and he must go to stop it. With all the help of all the creatures from the past that have come out of his closet, as well as some of his friends. I love this book because it shows you how this main character learned to love reading and why he didn't love it at first. And it adds humor only Obert Skye can come up with. It's very hard to put down, and it has a lot of adventure in it. If you've liked his other ones, you'll love this one, but honestly, you could probably read this one without having read the others. If you haven't, you'll want to go back and read the others because you'll love it so much. This is definitely a read-alike for Diary of a Wimpy Kid, because not only does it have humor, but it has really fun illustrations as well for grades 4 to 8 or 9. This is a review book from Henry Holt. I highly recommend you go read it. I like these because it's great for reluctant readers.
Disney, the story of Moana. There's tattoos in the back. Not stickers, but tattoos. It fits the story better than a sticker does, because the tattoos on the characters, it's part of their culture. And they're kind of used as the chapter headings, and they're kind of coppery. Let's start with the cover. Look at this gorgeous fabric cover. It's probably the prettiest cover I have seen in a long time. It's absolutely beautiful. The feel of the fabric cover is just pretty unique, especially when we're used to plastic on all our covers for the library. I haven't seen a cover done in fabric in a while, especially with this many colors on it, because usually when you get fabric covers, it seems like there's less colors, and this one has a lot of detail, especially like if you look in her hair, the tattoos and stuff are in her hair. I really, really liked the cover. I guess if that gets people to pick up the book. So you have Moana, who lives in a culture where they're pretty much scared to go in the water. They're scared to go past a certain point in the water except to fish. Her dad wants her to be the next chief or chiefess of the tribe. That means she's going to be a landlubber. But she is drawn to the ocean. The ocean gives her a special little shiny surprise when she's just a little toddler. And her grandma knows what it is. And her grandma takes and she saves it for her till the time's right. And this is the story of her becoming who she is. So those of you who have seen the movie, she comes into her own. Her community is dying. They can't get fish. They can't grow crops. They're in a lot of trouble. So she decides to go, as her grandma's dying, on an adventure. Her grandma gives her that special little trinket back again. And she has to go find Maui and restore Te Fiti's heart. Maui, this big guy covered in these tattoos that are animated and they move around, and that's in the book too. You come to love Moana, it's just a very cute story. The thing about this book is the story works for any age level. The way the book is written, ages 9 through about 14 is who this book's going to be aimed at. But I really think you're going to have high school kids who love Disney movies who are going to want to read this, and even adults. And this is the oldest version I've seen of this story, like oldest as in reading level. You could go lower for a really great reader, or you could go up to grade 12 if you have someone who wants to read it. Adults are going to be fine reading it too. I got to read the book first, so the movie will be better, because it always is better when you do it that way. A review copy from Disney, and thank you Disney for this beautiful, beautiful book and such a lovely story.
The Neckgartner by the Fan Brothers. So this was recommended to us by Elizabeth Smith. Follows the story of a young boy who lives by a park. So one night he keeps finding this gentleman who is coming to the park. The next day he finds these really fun creations on these trees, and you'll notice they stand really nicely out on the page. Each day a new one appears. How long will it last? What I love about this book are how you have a contrast of monochromatic coloring, and then there's this thing that stands out really bright on the page, which is the tree that the Neckgartner creates. So the night scenes are the ones that are monochromatic, and that's just really kind of realistic, because night you have more subdued tones and everything is kind of monochromatic, and then the daytime pictures are all bright and vivid. Kira thinks, and I think, that this is a contender for the Caldecott Awards this year. Now that kind of falls in our next thing. The Caldecott Awards and the Newbery Awards and the Odyssey and the Prince and Theodore Seuss Geisel Award and a whole bunch of other ones, those will all be announced in January at ALA Midwinter Conference. So all those committees come together and they make the picks and the announcements made. And these are, as Kira put it, the Oscars or the Emmys for the library community. So this is really exciting for us to see, because sometimes you find books that you wouldn't normally have picked, and the committee has to debate on them, and they have to come up with this, and they've read pretty much everything in that category for the year, which is really, really hard. And these committees, they have to read so much, and they have to go to multiple meetings, and those meetings and the minutes and stuff are open. You can look online and see what's on there. It's always mid-January that you will see things on Twitter, and I'm sure we'll do an episode on the Caldecotts and the Newberries and the Odysseys and all that, and doesn't guarantee that we've read all of them. It's really, really fun for us, and the thing is, we want to know what you guys want to know about. So please comment. Put what you're looking for in the comments. Put what you like to read. As librarians, it's not about what we want to read. It's about bringing you books that you want to read. If you put that in the comments, put down what you think is going to win this year. What do you think is a good contender for the Caldecott or the Newbery or the Prince Award? We mentioned a couple this week. We think that Blood Red Snow White is a good contender for the Prince Award, and we think that this is a good contender for the Caldecott Award. Everything is probably a little older than they generally pick for the Newbery, but there are some other awards that might be a good one for. And I'm just always excited to see what they are. Please click on the icon and subscribe, and don't forget that you have to hit the bell icon for notifications now, or go into your subscriptions and opt in for notifications so that you do hear about the videos. Please subscribe though, because every time you subscribe, it makes it easier for you to find our videos. Again, if you like it, hit like, and please share it with your friends, because we want to bring books to more readers. Until next time, happy reading. Bye.